I started the Media Diversity Council almost 2 years ago, and the reason that I wanted to do that is I saw a need across a lot of different industries. I taught second grade reading and math in the Title I program for 1 year, and then I taught here in Southeast Austin, the Dove Springs area. I taught science and history for 5 years. I also taught in the Upward Bound program for potential first-generation college students over at Houston Tillotson College. And since then, I've spent a lot of time. I've done advertising, I've done educational publishing, software development, and I started to really see where there were a lot of opportunities, particularly for students of color, where they could be a really great asset for a lot of these businesses that were frankly missing them. And you know, it's very complicated why that is, and there's no real quick fix or easy solution for that. But I think really what it comes down to is infrastructure. How do you go about systematically creating the infrastructure to be able to cultivate the sustainable talent pool that's gonna really mature? And the concept that I came up with was something I call exponential mentoring. And Media Experiments, which is the program I'm going to talk about primarily today, is really the first foray into that concept. Basically, what exponential mentoring means, as far as I use it, is that over the course of 4 to 6 weeks, through tours and workshops, you have students come into contact with as many as 30 different mentors, all focused around a specific subject area. So I've started with media because students are already immersed in media. They live it, they breathe it all the time. But I also have STEM experiments, science, technology, and engineering and mathematics experiments. And I also have entrepreneur experiments. And so really these past 2 years have been about really establishing a methodology in terms of how do you get these students' interest, and then once you have their interest, how do you provide them with more tools and more access so that they can be successful?
As long as we're talking about suggestions, there's one idea that I think really comes off our last meeting, which had to do with, we're really talking about how can we do more outreach to youth. And here you are talking about this wonderful program. It strikes me that there are several aspects of what futurists do that would be very useful to the students. Mm-hmm. There's something we call environmental scanning, where we use the acronym STEEP, stand to social and demographic, technological, economic, ecological, and political. And the idea is to have a 360-degree vision about social changes that are going on, mm-hmm. so that you can plan better, mm-hmm. but also so you could make documentary movies about what's going on, mm-hmm. emerging issues and like that.
Sure.
And they could be able to better forecast what kind of growth areas they might want to move into. And I think it'd be really interesting and useful if you guys wanted some help for us to help people look to the future more effectively.
We would love to. And that's a big thing also in terms of these students, is that we really want to start to have them, now that the proteges are really getting trained up, mm-hmm. to be able to go and interview different types of professionals and make that interesting to other students.
Right.
So that those other students can really start to learn, like, what's a futurist?
Right.
You know,
strategic planning.
Right. Or, you know, most kids don't know what a copywriter is, mm-hmm. or, you know, all of these things that a lot of us that are particularly in media and technology kind of take for granted. There's a whole language that the kids have to really start to assimilate before they can really start to understand and start to be able to move forward. So I would love for them to have those types of interactions. Another thing that we do is we try and expose the kids to venture capital folks as well. 2 of our kids have already started their own production companies.
Huh.
So, yes, sir.
Yeah, I really applaud you on a well thought out program that seems to be working. It's extremely difficult, I know. And you seem to, I'm very impressed with the combination of things you've put together that all are ringing true to me. as something that'll work, that move kids through a process from where they are to some better state in the future. We've been struggling, we being the board, for years trying to figure out how to do something like that for the young people to get them interested in the future. One of the problems we face, and I, by the way, would welcome your help on this process. There's a subcommittee, a group that's working on it. Ashwin is out right now, but he's the one that's hitting it up. Anything we can do together, you know, that's great. But one of the problems we have that you don't have is that in spite of the fact there are a few professional futurists in the room, there's no money in futuring. There isn't a career path of any significance to be a futurist. What we're mostly concerned about is to help people, it's much more abstract, to help people think about the future, to help them make better decisions in whatever career or thing that they're associated with. So, I mean, the ideas that you have that quickly bring them to a project where they get paid money for it, there's no way we can do that because it's so much more an abstract concept. But any help that you can give us to help us figure out what some of the handles might be to make this work, I would greatly appreciate it. Secondly, it just, you know, we do have our website. It has videos on it. If you look for places for kids to put videos, put them up on our site.
Sure.
I'll be happy to do that for you. And even that alone might attract some young people to it.
Yeah, well, I think in terms of futurists, you know, there are a lot of, particularly these urban kids that are trendsetters. And, you know, frankly, you know, what's been happening in fashion and advertising, what they do is they go to the hood and they watch what these kids are doing. They go, oh, that's what's coming up next.
Yeah.
So these kids already know about the future because they're the ones who decide what's hip and what's not. And particularly now because we live in this attention economy. So I think that just a lot of kids don't know, it's like they do it, but they don't even know that they're doing it.
Yeah, and I give you that, but their perspective is in the consumer area alone. And our biggest problems is not in producing more consumer goods. It's in dealing with the big systemic problems that this generation of youth are going to face, many of which we're going to hand to them, having not solved it ourselves.
Very true.
And that's where I think the real leverage is. Yes, they're very creative, and yes, they're very trendsetters, very much trendsetters, but could they tell us whether it was a good idea not to use fluorescent replacement bulbs for incandescent bulbs? That's the kind of systems thinking that we need in order to, or whether wind turbines are a good deal or not. Not because somebody's hyping them, but have they looked at the whole system and said, yeah, that's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, I think to get the kids to start to think systematically, particularly in one of the units that we talk, we have these what we call key terms that the kids have to make media pieces about, and one of them is value.
That's a good one.
And you know, I use the Socratic method. So I'll give them a term like cultural capital and say, okay, make a media piece that shows me that you understand this. You know, if you could do some breakdancing and show me you understand cultural capital, then we'll count it. But it better be a bad dance that you can't do. But the idea is to promote excellence in no matter what it is that they do. Other question?
All right. Well, thank you very much. Did you say something?